Nashville has been growing by leaps and bounds over the last few years. Everywhere you look, there's just more. More buildings, more people, more traffic. This frenzy of development has created a lot of new places, and changed countless more. Many of these projects still feel like works in progress. Sometimes it's clear what the end goal is. In other cases, we're still waiting to see how things shake out. In the midst of all this newness, arguably the most complete success has come on one of the city's oldest streets. In this video, I'm going to lay out why I think downtown's Church Street is Nashville's best urban corridor, and explore how to extend its formula elsewhere in the city. In particular, let's look at Church Street between 2nd and 8th Avenues. This 6-block stretch has 4 attributes that combine in a way that's unique for Nashville. Those are a human-scale street, good public transportation, a rich mix of commercial uses, and a variety of housing options. From street level, it's easy to see how Church compares to the streets around it. Here's a comparison with 3 of its neighbors. You can see that each of them isn't just a little bit bigger, but a whole different scale. Broadway measures 65 feet across near 5th and Broad. That's wide enough to fit Church and all its sidewalks, with 10 feet to spare. You feel this difference in size viscerally when walking around. It's easy to glance at the shops across the street when walking on Church, while they're sometimes hardly visible across Commerce. The narrow width and tighter lanes also helps naturally slow traffic, as drivers tend to drive more slowly when they perceive the environment as closer to them. And while it's always safest to cross at a crosswalk, slower traffic and a short distance makes it possible to hop across the street mid-block to meet your rideshare or catch the bus. Doing that on Broadway is a recipe for disaster. Next, let's take a look at transit access. While it's a stretch to call any public transit options in Nashville good, it's probably safe to say that this stretch of Church is about as good as it gets today. The intersections with 4th and 6th each have pretty significant bus stops. More importantly, these stops are served by some of the only WeGo routes that are truly high frequency. On weekdays, you can catch the 3 to West End and Centennial Park as often as every 10 minutes. The same is true for the 52, which runs down Nolensville Pike to Wedgwood Houston, the Nashville Zoo, and more. You can grab the 7 to Vanderbilt Medical Center every 15 minutes. WeGo's hub and spoke model isn't great for most places in the city, but when you're only a few blocks from the hub, you're in the one spot where it does actually work. In order to cut down on the trips you're making by bus or car, it's great to have more of what you need right around you. And that's one area where the Church Street corridor really shines. You've got important civic buildings, such as the Federal Courthouse, Nashville Public Library, and several churches. There are 4 high-rise office buildings and a bunch of smaller office spaces. And, of course, there are tons of restaurants ranging from pizza shops to high-end dining. This area has so much dining that I've only marked the restaurants here that actually face Church. There's also the kinds of everyday shops you need for daily life. You can pick up a prescription at Walgreens, get a haircut at a barber, and grab some beer at the liquor store. And there's a bodega that carries meat, produce, dairy, and household goods. I wouldn't do my weekly shopping here, but it's more than just a 7-Eleven. These kinds of shops are mostly useful if you actually live in the area, and there are plenty of places to do that. More importantly, there is quite a bit of variety in housing options. There are low-rise lofts in converted historic buildings, as well as modern high-rises. You can rent an apartment or purchase a condo. This 6-block stretch is home to more than 1,200 housing units, ranging from studios to multi-bedroom apartments. It's fair to say that most of these options are pricey. But even here, on Nashville's most complete street, there's a building full of units that rent for less than the city's average price. So what can we learn from this? For one, that it's possible to have great urban spaces even in a car-oriented city like Nashville. The more you can mix uses like housing, workplaces, and shopping, the easier it is to string together your day without having to get in the car. And you want to spend more time outside, even in the middle of the summer when there aren't so many vehicles around. Metro is taking this people-first approach as they renovate 2nd Avenue. You can see here that the newly reopened section gives a lot more space to pedestrians and better separates them from traffic. This will be true all the way down to the intersection with Broadway, making room for outdoor dining, street vendors, and more. If you're going to ask people to get out of their cars, you've got to have a transit system that works. Metro is working to break WeGo's hub-and-spoke model by building transit hubs elsewhere in the city, which will facilitate more cross-town bus service. And frequencies will improve significantly if we pass the Choose How You Move ballot measure in November. It's not the train system Nashville deserves, but it will make more places like church possible. And that's really what we need. Living in this area is expensive in part because it's so rare. Nashville is almost 500 square miles in size, yet there are only a few square miles where it's possible to live an urban lifestyle. We can do a lot better than that, while still having all the traditional neighborhoods we want. Thanks for watching.